beautiful day. Like I said, visibility is just awesome out here. Let me go over something Kevin did mention. We do have a little bit of motion out here. If you feel like that's getting to you, number one, the first thing you do is quit looking down into the viewing well. You'd be surprised if you will look out the window, find the horizon, take a nice deep breath or two. 9 times out of 10, that feeling will go away and you can resume your viewing fairly quickly. But if it doesn't work out that way, make your way to the back of the boat. You have David and Christina in blue shirts back here. They can help you with any discomfort that you might feel. And let me give you just an overview. There's a lot of things down there. Let me give you an overview.
On a glass bottom boat.
On both sides, we've gone across these large rocky structures. This is what people mean when they say the reef. And it is rock. It is 100% limestone out here in the middle of the ocean. And if you got really close to it, say you were a diver, you would see that rock is covered with these tiny little dots about the size of a match head or a pencil eraser. You can't see them, they're too far away. But if you got up close to one of those dots, you'll see that each one is an upside down jellyfish. Tiny little jellyfish, those little tentacles sticking up into the water. These guys are called coral polyps. And they're not sitting on top of the rock, they're actually embedded into it. And the reason they're embedded into it is they actually made all of the rock that you're looking at. They've been out here 8,000 years making this reef. In the beginning, we'll just call all that rocky stuff hard coral, but keep in mind it is a living, breathing marine animal. It breathes oxygen, exhales carbon dioxide, just like you and me. Now, on top of the hard coral, we see things that look like plants waving back and forth. That is not plant life. Again, that is coral, made up of the same coral polyps. They're a little different. They don't excrete limestone around themselves. They actually excrete a protein, leaves them flexible. It's kind of like your hair or your fingernail. So we'll see them waving back and forth. But again, that's not plant life. It is a living, breathing marine animal. So we'll call that soft coral. That kind of does it for the coral. Hard coral, soft coral. We'll talk more in detail about that later on, but that's a good overview. Now, the fish, we're all want to see fish, and the ones that typically show up, haven't seen one yet, but the yellowtail snapper is very common out here. He's about a foot long silverfish with a bright yellow tail. So that's a yellowtail snapper. We have a whole bunch of sergeant majors over here on the starboard side. These guys are easy to pick out. They have their body is nothing but yellow and black stripes. Looks like part of the military uniform, so they get the name sergeant major. Do we have any Nemo fans? Yeah? Yeah, we don't have Nemo. Well, we do have Dory. Dory lives out here. Remember her little bluefish with the pretty blue, about the size of my hand? Got a yellow dot, that part of the tail. So keep your eyes open for Dory. And I hope we get to see a parrotfish. Parrotfish are what I think of when I think of tropical fish. And they're also about the biggest fish that you see out here. They're probably 1 to 2 foot in size. Brightly colored. Reds, yellows, blues, greens, different species or different colors, and all of them change colors while they grow. So I can't tell you what colors you'll see, but if you see something 1 to 2 foot in size that is brightly colored, that's probably going to be a parrotfish. Yell out if you see it. And like I said, if you see a parrotfish, yell out. If you see a fish other people need to see, go ahead and yell out. Spend some time looking in the nooks and crannies down there, because like the sergeant major doesn't do, or sergeant majors and yellowtail snapper like this guy right here, they don't do a good job of hiding, but the majority of fish that live here come out here to hide. They're trying not to be eaten. So they're going to be in the shadows, nooks and crannies underneath the legs. Spend some time looking in those hard to see places. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about 4 things today. First thing is going to be, where did we bring you? Once we get oriented, then we talk about barrier reefs, like the barrier reef that you're looking at. Then we'll talk about the coral in more detail, break it down into species, and last but not least, of course, the fish. And I'll tell you some fish stories at the end. And while I'm talking to you, if you see that parrotfish, yell out. If you see dory, if you see a barracuda, yell out. The fish don't stick around. They move in, they move out. So don't be scared to interrupt me. If you have a question, don't wait till the end. Interrupt me, ask your question. I taught public high school for 20 years. I'm completely used to being interrupted when I talk. I go right back into the narration. In fact, if nobody interrupts me, I start thinking no one's listening, and then I just start making things up. Which coincidentally is why I'm no longer employed by the public school system. Okay, do we have anybody, let's get oriented. Do we have anybody that drove to Key West, made that long drive from Homestead? How many bridges did y'all go over? Yeah, that's my favorite answer. It's all of them. I want to know all of them. It's actually 42 bridges, and each time you went over a bridge, it took you further away from the Florida coastline until all of us, no matter how we got there, we ended up on that rock right over there called Key West. Now that over there is 110 miles from the Florida coast, and we just brought you 6.2 miles due south, so we're about 116 miles off the coast of Florida in the second largest body of water on Earth, the Atlantic Ocean. Now, if we kept going south, which would be this direction, if we kept going that way 84 miles, where would we be? Be in Cuba. We can't go there today. There are two problems with it. One, you have to have permission to go to Cuba. You can't just show up. You got to be invited. And the other one is 84 miles is a long trip by sea. They would turn our 2-hour trip into one of those.
Fishing line or something down there again.
Gilligan fans? We'll have any Gilligan fans in here? How big? This big? That's probably a yellow-tailed damselfish. They're about the size of my hand. Yeah, probably a yellow-tailed damsel. Yep, black body. Probably a yellow-tailed damsel.
Have fun, Kim.
Okay, so we brought you to the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. You can think of it as like the Yellowstone Park of the ocean. It's a national park. Brought you to a part of it called the Florida Reef Tract. This reef tract starts up by Key Biscayne up in the Miami area. It runs continuously in between Cuba and the Florida Keys all the way to here. Then it goes another 70 miles out to the west, ending in that group of islands that David told you about called the Dry Tortugas. So the total length of the reef that you're looking at is 240 miles, and this makes it the third largest living coral reef in the entire world. It's the only living coral reef in North America. I'll bet a bunch of us know where the world's largest living coral reef is. Australia, which is why they call it the Great Barrier Reef. It truly is great. It is 1,400 miles long. It basically runs from California to Kansas. That's how long that thing is. It's so big astronauts can see it from space. Okay, so that's number one. And number three, bonus points if anyone knows where the second largest living coral reef in the world is. Yeah, very good. Who said that? Right there, star for the day. No one ever knows that. Excellent. Yeah, Belize and off the coast of Belize and Honduras. That's called the Great Mayan Reef. And it's about twice as big as the one we're looking at. So here you have Great Barrier, Great Mayan, and the Florida Reef Tract number 1, 2, and 3. Now there are hundreds of other smaller living coral reefs all around the world's oceans. The thing is though, these reefs only take up 1% of the ocean floor. 99% of the ocean floor is just a sandy, muddy,